for joining. Again, this is Eddie with the Crippled Handyman. This is episode 2 of Why Get into the HVAC Industry. The industry is such a huge industry. There's so much to learn. I'll base real quick when I remember when I started working for the family business. And remember when we were doing Blockbusters, we were doing Aurelio Pizzas, we were doing like Fazoli restaurants. And in those years, I was younger, I was in my 20s. I was like, holy cow, this is really cool. I like the bigger stuff over the homes. But doing residential for 15 years. At a certain point, it does start wearing on you a little bit. The one thing I'm not going to lie, will the industry, where you come home with some aches and pains. Depends on the type of job. So don't focus on that part so much versus, focusing on having a career. It's beyond, you get excellent compensation. It's a high job demand. It's a long-term job security. And plus, here's a bonus. No need for an expensive college degree. You don't have any college loans. There's many benefits, and there is HVAC services are worldwide. Worldwide, you could be. I don't care what part of the country you're at. There's always HVAC needed, regardless. So the flexibility in choosing where to live and work is is pretty flexible. But let's get back to the nice thing about getting into the industry, starting out at the bottom of the ladder. What does that look like? Are they going to pay you $20 an hour? I guess don't be trying to compare that if someone's going to be working at a fast food restaurant, making sandwiches or flipping burgers. Who cares what they make? The thing is, that kind of job, that's it. If they're going to make $18 an hour, they get minimal weight raises. And for a real big future and to be able to, provide for yourself and your family in the future, those jobs are not meant to do so. Where you have a career in the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning field. Like I said, you have potential where you could make 6 figures, plus benefits, insurance, health insurance, dental, eye care, depending on where you go. You get all that. Then if you go into the union, the sheet metal workers union, it's the same thing. You're installing sheet metal. You could be doing residential. Is it as common in certain areas in residential? Not as common, but it does exist. In the commercial, it exists. You can, that's where myself, I think if you do go union, go that route, you go to trade school, the employer pays for that. All that time you're in school, and you do, over time, you do get your benefits. I think it's like 6 months in, even when you're an apprentice, you go through your apprenticeship program. If you go the union route, I would suggest that if you are able to. If not, there are still plenty of non-union shops, and I guess the scary part of that is for me, for young guys, if you're not being taught properly, you know, if you're being taught how to cut corners and so forth, that's where my fear would be. Um, and here's another interesting thing: if you could find a shop that actually has a fab shop where they make all their own fittings, ductwork, and all that stuff, versus when I moved to Colorado, there's shops out here. They don't even have a shop. They just buy flat steel, 3x8 sheets of steel. A lot of times they're only buying 28 gauge, and all they specialize is replacing furnaces and air conditioners. This field is way bigger than just that side of it. And then you got the boilers. You replace boilers. I know plumbers like to take on that side too, doing boiler work. But that's also done with HVAC guys, primarily HVAC. And you replace water heaters. We would do those randomly, at the family business. But depending on how the shop is set up, when you walk in to get a job, hopefully they have a fab shop where you'll learn more skills along the way. So like I said, you could make like $20 an hour to start out, right fresh out of high school. Some employers may not want to pay that much. They might be at 15, 18. I don't know today if it's more, if employers are being a little bit more, trying to stay above minimum wage, as far as like if someone's going to make $20 at a restaurant. But like I said, that's not a skill. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not putting anyone down that works at a fast food place or anything like that. I'm not saying that. It's about, and I guess you could grow in that industry, but what kind of skills are you gonna really learn? Flipping burgers, unless you want to be a manager in that. But we're not talking about that. I'm just trying to give a comparison on why get yourself a job in the HVAC industry. And if you end up going into trade school, you're going to learn how to make fittings. You're going to learn how to do some drafting. There's a lot of skills you're going to learn in your 4-year apprenticeship program. And you could come out, being a great worker, or you could come out and you could be a foreman and you could be running the projects. Whether you're putting a new system in the new school, it could be in a school addition, company I worked for. We did pretty much anything as far as in the commercial side. The primary focus was schools, and we did different hospitals, and it's such a large industry. And like I said, I never really had any hands-on in the industrial side, so I don't know really anything about that side of the industry. But I remember working for the family business and making a choice to leave to go, go with a bigger union shop. There were things I seen that I never seen in 15, for the 15 years I was, doing, like I said, we did light commercial, more or less those are simple systems, rooftop units, drops down, returns, some trunk lines, flex down to some supply diffusers. Nothing of complex. You get into the commercial end, words I'm going to say, you get VAV boxes. They're variable air volume boxes. They regulate airflow in, say, in classrooms and schools. Every single classroom has their own thermostat and VAB, or it could be an FPB, a fan power box, where that has an actual motor in it too, where it could be blowing additional air. Oh my God, there's HEPA systems. There's so much. There is so much to learn. Um, so making the decision if you want to get into the industry, find a shop, go union, or if you're going to go non-union. Either side, union, you're going to get trained properly, and you go to a non-union shop, they may not train you adequately. The reason I was trained properly because my grandfather's shop was union, and when I was, still a young buck, 15 years old, 16, I was, they were getting out of the union. My father was. My grandfather he was retirement. And I don't know what was going on. I don't know why he did that. He took that to the grave pretty much. So basically I got shafted 15 years as a union member, or being non-union, so to speak. But we never changed our work ethic. I was taught how to fabricate, how to, service, my later years with him, learning how to do estimating, troubleshooting, that's what service. And it's interesting when you start going out, fixing furnaces and air conditioners. That's the thing when you're with a small shop, you want to learn at the bottom. You want to learn every entity of the trade. So if you're looking for a job in the field, try to find a company that actually has a shop. You'll learn quite a bit more, in my personal opinion. Yes, if they're just strictly, a company that focuses on replacements and that's it, you're going to be lacking many, many, many skills. Unfortunately, you'll know how to replace a furnace, do some gas pipe, electrical, low voltage, thermostats, same thing with air conditioning. You learn how to braze. That's when you're brazing the copper joints, the liquid line, the suction line on the air conditioner and the coil. Learn how to run like equipment such as, your Freon, the reclaimer, takes out all the Freon and puts it in the jug before you, replace the system. You don't disperse the Freon in the air, in the environment. The EPA cracked down on that years ago in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken. 80s or 90s, one or two. Late 80s, early 90s. And the sad part is, you'll learn, maybe they'll teach you how to do some servicing. Those companies are going to be very restricted for you if you're like fresh, you don't know anything about the industry, unless they're willing to train you. A lot of them are looking for, sometimes they're looking for a second guy, and the lead guy is to be teaching you, as long as he's teaching you properly. But I recommend starting slow, starting the residential side. Learn how to, where they do new homes, new rough-ins, and even if, their systems are not up to my standards, they at least, you're learning how to design systems in new homes, and hopefully they have a shop, or you go back and you fab your materials. Some companies, if they're too big, they have people in the shop fabbing whatever you need. You give them your material list and they do that. It's That's where you want to focus on. If you're going to get into the trade, start at the bottom of the ladder, being a grunt. Yeah, you'll be, if you're in the shop, they'll have you probably sweep the floors, but slowly you'll start learning how to fab material, hopefully, depending on the shop. So be very specific, unless you're obviously desperate for a job, you need money. I understand that. You know, you got to do what you have to do to provide for your family. And yeah, I when I left the family business, really quick story, and I went, you know, to this larger company, and it's a shame my family's stalled. They played stalemate. They could have started growing too, but they didn't. But anyways, I've come across men in the bigger world doing the big stuff, and they never even did a house. They never even did a furnace, an air conditioner, but they could do commercial. And I thought that was kind of, I can't think of the word. Oh, I want to say sad. It's more or less disappointing. I don't know if I can't say disappointing. Oh, maybe so. You know, because in the union, when you're a journeyman, you're making big bucks. You would think they would have a little more education. The thing is, you know, when I did our family business, we had a fab shop. We did residential, we did light commercial. So we would fab all of our ductwork and all that for the commercial jobs because it would have to be lined. We would duct line it, glue it, pin it, and then we also did like architectural type work. So there would be custom homes where they have copper roofs, custom like bay windows, and they would need copper roofs put on there. The flat roofs are easy, and we were doing roll roofs. My father, like I said, it was just freaking awesome how to do that. We would go out there and measure it up, make patterns. We'd basically just use felt, actually roofing felt, number 15, and let the felt lay on the roof, cut everything perfectly, tape things together so it lays right and sits properly. And that piece of felt was the pattern in the straight, because obviously when it's a curve versus straight, the dimension from straight point to straight point, say, is 30 inches. Give an example. And now you got a curve in it. So you got a curve from this point to this point. It's no longer 30 inches. It could be 32 inches. So doing the felt was just a quick deal. I know in the granite business, there'd be guys that go out there with, back in the old days for equipment came out, they were using like cardboard to make their templates and stuff. They keep it together, make sure they're square and all that. But so we would do architectural, and what else did we do? You know, and of course, new construction, brand new homes, from all new ductwork, new furnace, new air conditioning, chimney flashing. And then you learn how to put fireplace inserts, running stacks, and all that stuff. You know, chimney stacks, how to flash when the shingles are on the roof, how to actually put the roof flashing in properly, how to do nose flashing, how to do side flashing, how to do all that kind of stuff with a shop like, you know, of our statute. Then we did furnace replacements, tear out old furnaces, put in new furnaces. I remember before the 80% furnaces were out. That's how long ago I go. I beheld my father. We would literally, when 80%ers came out, and homeowners complained about the inducer motor. It's like, oh my God, it's louder. So after that point, we had to start letting homeowners know that because the old standing pilot and, you know, atmospheric pressure or the flue exhaust goes out the roof, all you have is your blower motor pushing air throughout all the registers. And so we had to start telling people, there's now two fans. You have your inducer motor, that's going to kick on first, and then your blower motor. So that was interesting. Then I remember when the 90% furnaces were coming out. The secondary heat exchangers, it was all PVC flues, the intake and the exhaust. And even from the beginning when I started learning new things, putting electronic air cleaner in. So say you do a furnace replacement, they didn't have electronic air cleaner. And now you got to run 110 to power up the electronic air cleaner. So you learn how to do some electric. And sometimes people want the air conditioner somewhere else on the house. They don't want it on this side of the house. They want it at the back of the house, or vice versa. Oh, the air conditioner is next to the deck. I don't want to hear it, which I don't blame them. When you're on the deck in the summertime, you don't want to hear the, some of them, they could get pretty loud. And so then you're learning how to do conduit work, electrical. There's so much to learn. But I guess with this episode, when you're out looking and why to get into the industry, it's a long-standing career for the rest of your life. And once you know the ropes of the industry, like I said in another video I put out, why work hard for your employer? Your employer, one day, he may not have any kids. And then he's like, you may ask if you want to take over the business. Well, why not learn all the ropes? Maybe find a company like that when you start out. I've heard many success stories of people's careers and jobs, and yeah. So you never know what company you're going to get into. Just shop around in your area and see what they offer. I remember when oh my God, was I here? I can't remember. I shortly worked for this one company. It was a short amount of time. I was in the transition phase when I was leaving my father's business. And I went to this other company. Yeah, that's what it was. I went to this other company, and it was run and gun. All they did was replacement work. So put it this way. When you arrive to that job, they expect you to have that furnace and air conditioner replaced. They don't care how long it takes. Well, you had one day. You had one day on any job. Doesn't matter how big. If it was small, well, then they would maybe put 2 systems for you to do for the day. Or you just get a 5-hour day. That company, they didn't care for. They hired me off the bat. They actually, it's kind of cool. They had like a little training program to kind of show you how to make the plenums and this and that. And I've been at it for 15 years. I'm the lead. I'm the one that runs the field. I measure everything up. I design everything. I come back to the shop, whatever guys I have under me, okay, you make this, I'll fab this. I'll usually fab the more difficult stuff. And I was like their golden boy. Oh my God, they would have loved to keep me, but it's like, no, I want your job. You're a superintendent. You oversee all these other 40 people. That's the job I want. Because to do this, I just took 2 steps back from leaving the company to doing. I'm not saying I'm better than doing that. The point is, it's like I have all this knowledge and capabilities. I could be much more lucrative to the company if they put me in a different position. But I had to walk the walk. You know, they didn't know anything about me, and I didn't last. I was there for a short time because, like I said, I was in a transition, looking to go to this other company. The one I was there, I was with them for 15 years, and we had to do some things had to get done, paperwork or so forth. It was like it could take a few months, and I'm like, all right, you know. So I have a family, got two kids, 2 miles, mortgage, car payments, so I got to do something else. So I did. But yeah, a company like that, they would actually just take flat stock to make their plenums. They would use 28-inch gauge steel, and I'm like, dude, we gotta cross break this stuff because it's gonna bang, bang, bang. When the furnace comes on, you're gonna hear it popping. The guy like, no, use a screwdriver. You take like a cleat and you go corner to corner on this freaking light gauge steel, 28 gauge steel, and use a cleat, bar folder, and all that stuff. I had 18-inch bar folders. They actually could make, S cleats or standing seams. They had 1 inch and 3/8 on the bar folder. It's another tool. In our video, I'll go over all the tools you'll need before you start your new career path. You're going to spend a couple $100. Sorry for the bad news. Maybe the company will spot you, or help you through the first week. You know what I mean? You need this and this, or I don't know. But there's a couple $100 in just the basics. Because tools have gotten a little more expensive today. But no, they told me to take a screwdriver. The point of the screwdriver, go corner to corner, and that's your cross break. When you look at it, it shows a cross break. It looks like you cross broke the piece of steel, but because it was such a light gauge steel, I was like, you gotta be effing kidding me. I'm like, what about condensation? When your metal is right by the coil, the cooling coil for air conditioning, that metal's gonna sweat. You don't insulate the first 3-4 feet of the plenum. You ever see ductwork in a basement in humid states? It's all wet, condensating, dripping. You don't want that above your furnace, period. But I just thought it was kind of little sketch. I went with it. And I remember I did my first furnace replacement for them. Like I said, they had a kid come with me, a guy that knew the ropes, because he knew how to do the billing. You had to do the charge card and all that shit. It's like, oh, okay, that's all new. That was all new to me. It was like something new I didn't know how to do. Never did before. And I was, because I left the family business in 98. I was born in 69, so how old was I? 99, I would have been 30. So I was 29 years old when I left the family business. And, I remember when I did the first job, the kid could not believe, just the speed I had and the perfection of the jobs. You had to take pictures and everything, and they're just floored. Like I said, they thought I was like, oh, this is the golden child. We're gonna make they probably had an average on how much each man brings profit to the company. Like I said, they had 40 guys, 30, 40 guys. Everyone had their own vans. And so you drive to the company, and then you drive the company van to whatever project. I never brought a van home. Never. Like I said, I think I was there 2 or 3 months. And the first job I did, it was 4 hours. Simple. They're like, you're back. I'm like, yeah. I'm like, oh shit. I guess we could, more or less, you saw the pictures, everything went smooth, and the homeowner actually called and complimented my work. I was just so happy with my professionalism. Not bragging, but it's important to have that when you're in people's homes. I mean, I've been in hundreds and hundreds of people's homes, and I don't care if your home is clean, dirty, I'd rather work in someone's home that's just like right in the middle. I've been in homes with cockroaches. That's gross. It happens. And I've been in homes where they're just like OCD clean freaks. And let me tell you, running tarps. I mean, we ran tarps all over. I'm talking like with a family business. Um, we had to do a furnace replacement for a neighbor, a couple neighbors down from my one aunt that lived in Winfield. But rest her soul, God bless her. And my aunt was already super OCD, clean everything in his place, and shoes taken off at the door. I do that in my house too. I grew up that way. But yeah, you almost like, do I need to put on like another pair of fresh socks on this floor? Have these custom marble floors, and the furnace was like in this funky like crawl area. It was like the way the house was designed, and oh my god! So you have no shoes on, and then now you're going in a crawl space, so you're working in socks because it's like right off the fresh, bright white carpet. Now you got to get this old furnace out of there, and oh my god, I just tell you, I mean, stuff like that. My father would send me out there because he knew I'm OCD myself as it is. So I'm already a perfectionist, very clean freak. So it was right up my alley. But this person was like, if I was here with clean freak, she was there. I was like, holy shit, lady. Dang. You know, I respect people's homes. And that's the thing. You end up learning people skills. I heard like these younger generations that don't have really good people skills. You get the industry. You work with your, partner. Usually you have, usually two guys. Usually it's a team, two or three guys. That's how our shop was. Two guys to three guys, depending on what it was. When I was 18, I had two other guys. We're all the same age. We're all 18-year-olds. And I already had so much now. I had knowledge of a 22-year-old already, because I started at 15. I was already running my jobs. They're small homes, modest, your typical tri-level, your typical two-story, your Fane style two-story, homes maybe 3,000 square feet, 3,200 maybe max. My father was like, you gotta get to know how to do those perfectly and understand them. And then sometimes you do a funky custom ranch, and then before you know it, by the time I was like 24 years old, 23, by the time I was 22 years old, because I was 18 in those 4 years, I started doing some big stuff, 10,000. Everything was over 6,000 square feet. I think 15,000 was my biggest with my father's shop. And that was a big house. Big suckers. Like, man, oh man. And so then you just get to the point. I got to the point where I just got bored. It was a challenge. It's just another house. Okay, cool. The best time of year in the Chicagoland area was working spring to the fall. Get about 3 months where it's like, so. Tough it out a little bit. Those would be the cons. The weather. You dress for it, but believe it or not, some of these builders are very good. They'll put a heater in the basement. They make sure the windows are on. They'll board up the garage door. They'll board up the front door, have the front, so they'll have some temp heat in the house. So the house wouldn't be just 30 degrees. Not always, but we'd have some builders that were trying to dry out the lumber before drywall. So they would start heating up. And that was those couple of Irish builders we did. And I'm so grateful they did that. So by the time we got to the basement, that's where they had a mushroom heater. And actually, when they had gas, we actually made our little hot sticks. You guys, maybe today, you're like, oh, that's dangerous. We drill a bunch of holes, piece of 1/2-inch pipe, have a gas cock on it, shut off valve, ball valve, and be about 3 foot long, 4 foot long. We would put it on the main gas drop because the plumber was already done. The drop that goes by the furnace, we would put that on there, turn the gas on, light that sucker, and that would help heat up the basement while we're hanging our ductwork in the basement. But I'm gonna end it as this. So good luck if you're out there looking to get into the sheet metal industry, HVAC. Watch what company you go to. See what they have to offer. See if they have a fab shop. If they have a fab shop, you're golden. You'll learn a lot more. If it's just a company where they're looking for someone to replace furnaces, you're gonna have a little bit more challenges. In different parts of the country, you have to get certificates. They're not that expensive. It's just some training. I know we've hired back in the old days in the '90s. We hired a couple kids that went to MIT, and where they're learning some stuff. They come in with their certificate. It's like a 12-month course or 8-month course, whatever it was. It really didn't teach them that much. In our eyes, you learn some things. Maybe you know how to do some troubleshooting, maybe on the service side of it. Our side, we weren't big on service. Our stuff didn't break down. We put in good equipment. It break down. I'm just kidding. We were fixing other people's stuff, mainly, to be honest with you. And but I'm gonna leave it on that note. Episode 3, I'm gonna talk about like all the tools that you'll have to buy. And so hopefully you like this video. And yeah, I'll have episode 3 coming out in a little bit. And I'm going to talk about like what tools you need to buy to get in the HVAC industry. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. It helps. And help me get to 1,000 subscribers. I appreciate it. And yeah, have a great day. We'll see you on the next one.